Shirts this ugly? Hard to find. The Rocketeer, directed by Joe Johnston. It was released in June in 1991 with a runtime of 1 hour and 48 minutes, starring Bill Campbell, Jennifer Connelly, Alan Arkin, and Timothy Dalton. Also starring Paul Sorvino, Terry O'Quinn, and Tiny Ron. No, really, that's his entry on IMDb. Tiny Ron, which is a complete lie because he's 7 foot tall. It had a reported budget of $35 million and a domestic take of $46 million. Now this one appears to have received no international release, so the $46 million is also its total, which scored this movie a profit of $11 million. I understand this was meant to be part of a trilogy, but due to its poor performance, all those plans got scrapped. Okay, so let's look at the characters for this one. We'll start with Cliff. Cliff is a stunt pilot. He's your scrappy little daredevil. He throws a mean punch. He's an okay shot with a pistol. But mostly, he's an excellent pilot. He's a courageous young man with a good heart. Out to do the right thing, out to try and impress his girl, and try to do the very best he can to save his friends and save the day. Look, he's likable. He's also kind of forgettable. He's a 90s Disney adventure star. He's not quite your gee whiz, oh boy, go get him guy, but he's close. Now we have Jenny, played by Jennifer Connelly. Jenny is pretty much the female version of Cliff, inasmuch as she's the stereotypical heroine of the time. Equal parts damsel in distress and tough young woman. Jenny is an aspiring actress. She's stuck in second cast roles, background support, and very rarely a speaking role. That's what they portray her as. She's very sweet, she's very soft-spoken, she's quite the darling, she's quite the doll in this, I suppose. They do a pretty good job. They do a pretty good job with her. She has the same problems as Cliff in as much as she's lovely and she's sweet, but she's kind of forgettable. This is the adventure action movie, so she does pretty good for what it is. I don't think you're going to call this a memorable role for her, though. Here's something you didn't realize. Connelly is the young girl in Labyrinth. She's also Betty Ross in the Ang Lee's The Hulk movie. And she's Karen, the voice in Spider-Man's suit in Spider-Man Homecoming. Turns out she's also married to Paul Bettany, the Vision. Connections everywhere. Alan Arkin as Peevy. He's the master engineer, master mechanic, repairman, builder, problem shooter, and general father figure / grandfather figure to Cliff and Jenny. He's your man of wisdom and common sense. He gets ignored a lot, which is why Cliff gets in trouble a lot, but he's a very good support character. One of those support characters that you'd miss if they weren't in the movie. Good character, well acted, actually has a strong, if not occasionally stronger personality than the two leads, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Lastly, Timothy Dalton as Sinclair. He's your evil, swashbuckling Errol Flynn. He's charmingly malicious. Dalton does a wonderful job portraying this character, actually. Quite a strong character in the movie. Stronger again than the two leads. Not really surprising since it's Timothy Dalton. But a good villain for a pretty good hero. Then you've got Eddie Valentine, the recurring threat in the background. That's all he really is. Not much personality, not much to do with him. But he's there to move the story along, ramp up the threat, and be a general pain. Could have been played by anyone, would have been missed really if he wasn't in the movie, to be honest. Terry O'Quinn as Howard Hughes. Didn't recognize him at first, recognized the voice. It really threw me out. I spent half the movie trying to figure out who he was. Had to pause it and go check online to find out who this actor was, why did I know the voice. I mainly know Terry from Hawaii Five-0 and Lost. Don't know if he was truly necessary to the story. Don't know if you really needed him in there, but it was good fun to have him there. Good fun to have him as the guy holding the FBI's leash. A very nice counterpoint, actually, to Eddie Valentine. And just quickly, we'll mention Lothar, the henchman, the super thug, the Uberhench. A movie like this, the villains gotta have their big bad henchman, and Lothar suits that role perfectly. Okay, so, characters. Overall in the movie, they do their job. They are there on screen. But they kind of just felt, I don't know, bland? They did everything you expected them to do. There were no surprises. Yeah, there were absolutely zero surprises, actually, from any of these characters. Looks like characters will be a 2.75 for this one. The story is your fairly simple, standard adventure story. In the vein of Indiana Jones, but this time what they're chasing, what everyone wants, is this jetpack. The gangsters wanted to give to Sinclair. The FBI wanted to get it back to Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes wants it so it could be a counterpoint to the rumoured and theorised jetpack troops that the Nazis were designing. And in the middle, you've got Cliff and Peevy. They wanted it first just to try and get themselves back in the game. Get enough attention, get enough profit out of this device that they can go and buy and replace their plane that got wrecked, so they can get back into stunt flying, get back into races, make some money, make some living, yada yada yada. It all gets complicated when Cliff straps on the jetpack and flies off to save his friend who was having aircraft troubles at an aircraft show. Looked like a race, I think it was. So up he goes, saves the day, gets noticed by everyone. Good for fame, bad for keeping a low profile. Then the gangsters and all the bad guys and all the good guys start chasing down these two because it's kind of hard to hide who they are and where they've been. The story then bumps along between action set piece and adventure set piece with some emotional moments in there as well and some character building moments in there. It trots along at a good pace to the finale. The finale being, of course, the Nazi reveal, a great big fight, a battle on a blimp, hero saving the day, getting the girl, the bad guy blowing up. Again with the blimps. Like I said, it's a pretty generic action adventure flick. Having said that, the debut scene where the Rocketeer has to fly off to save his friend, that was a pretty cool reveal. The way they played the music in, the way they built it all up, the way that the crowd's reacting and everything like that, that was pretty nifty. Very Captain America moment, actually. Or Iron Man's first flight moment. Then got your traditional romantic problems between the two leads. Adventure romance by the numbers, but the actors managed to pull it off and make it work. Actually, Jenny not dragging out the "you don't care for me" routine was very nice. I was kind of worried I'm going to have a whole second act worth of that. You don't. You get a couple awkward scenes and that's about it. I suppose the closest thing we get to a twist is when Cliff reveals to the gangsters that they're working for a Nazi, and then the gangsters switch sides pretty much immediately. They actually end up side by side with the FBI shooting at the Nazis that turn up. It's one of those fun little moments that I actually enjoy. I mean, it's silly. It's dumb as a bag of hammers, but I enjoyed watching that. That was just kind of funny. Actually, now that I think about it, that's an adventure hook I use in my D&D games a lot. You'll have the villains actually join up with the heroes for a sequence or a certain situation that they need to team up for. And it all wraps up with a very Disney 90s ending to an adventure movie. Happily ever after for everyone involved. So for the story, well look, it's quite a generic piece of work, but there's no real drawbacks to it and a couple nice little surprises. So I'll go ahead and give this a 3. Look and feel. Well, it's an adventure movie set pre-World War II, which means it's got some sweet old planes, really nice cars, it's got your suits, it's got your hats, it's got your Tommy guns, it's got diners, it's got the old school America, and it looks really nice. That old school Disney music score, yeah, that's in there. It works a treat. It really works in the Rocketeer's debut moment. It's also just as effective in the finale sequence too. As you'd expect, it's very heavy on all the practical stunts, the car crashes, the plane crashes, the aerial work, the people being put across tables, out through windows, over the front of cars, all that sort of good stuff. You know those sort of punches where the hero winds up yesterday and puts his fist through tomorrow? That one where it really sweeps through? Hits nothing, but all the bad guys fall over anyway? Yeah, lots of that. The special effects they used? Alright, they're bad. Actually, to be honest, thinking about when it was made, and the money they had, the special effects are pretty good in that respect. Actually, a couple of times in the explosions, I went back and rewatched them, and they were real explosions. You got bits of debris landing around some of these actors. There were some close calls for the extras in the background there too. There's one guy in particular in the finale, there's an explosion, and the way he flies and takes cover, I don't think he knew where he was standing when that went off. It's got a good old comic book Indiana Jones spectacular vibe about it every now and then. Sometimes when you're not expecting it, particularly at the South Seas Club. There's a lovely club owned by some gangsters. It ends up in a great big punch-on in there. Everything's on fire, things are being blown up, all that sort of stuff. But that whole sequence and the blimp sequence felt very Indiana Jones. Suppose if you're going to be compared to a movie of that era, that's not a bad one to go with. There's also this beautifully bad sequence where the whole thing is on a movie set. It's being filmed as if people are on the movie set filming another movie. You know, that thing. So you got Timothy Dalton as Sinclair, as someone else, dancing around in a Robin Hood era looking film. Sword work, up and down the steps, swinging from the chandeliers, really bad lines, that sort of thing. Very good fun to watch. It's actually quite terribly awesome. Princess Bride! That's what that whole sequence reminded me of. The Princess Bride. There really isn't much more to say about the look and feel. It looked and felt exactly like the time period it was meant to. The costumes were good, the cars were cool, the whole thing kind of worked, really. I see no reason not to give this a 3. Script and dialogue. I have no idea how accurate the speech and lines were to the time, but they seem to have nailed the movie accurate expectations of all the viewers. The gangsters have got all that gangster dialogue with the slang and the attitude. The FBI are rocking around as hardcore G-men, and they've got all their slang and all their way of speaking, their mannerisms and their tough guy routine down pat. It actually looks like a lot of fun. All the bad acting and bad dialogue in the swashbuckling scene on the Forks movie set, that's always impressed me when they can do that sort of thing. You have to know your craft well enough to know how to break it convincingly. Howard Hughes was nice and sassy. He clearly didn't think too highly of the FBI guys he's got working for him. Most of the lines were delivered well. I quite often felt like I was watching a TV show though. Happy Days. Every now and then the dialogue was very Happy Days TV level, usually between Campbell and Connolly. I really didn't find a lot of their dialogue or their chemistry that great until they were in the South Seas Club. They actually had something to work with. Connolly got to be frustrated, annoyed, a little waspish. Campbell got to deliver some humour. He got to bring some amusing, some exasperated exposition. I hate that word. Exposition to the table and move the story along well. Dalton, Campbell and Connolly do a very nice job in that whole sequence. Okay, so script and dialogue. It had its heights. It had some really good moments in there. But generally, it was pretty bland stuff. So I'm thinking another 2.75 on this one. I worry that I'm being too harsh on these movies sometimes, but at the same time, it's what stands out. Yeah, 2.75. Fun factor. So, I enjoyed some sequences. I really enjoyed some parts of this movie. Most of it, though, was the pedestrian bits of getting from point A to point B, and then C through rest of alphabet. A fun movie makes me want to tell people about it, talk about it, and recommend it to other people. This one, look, if it was on TV, I'd watch it, but I'm not about to go out of my way to watch it. So while it wasn't bad, it was kind of bland, and bland is not good. Yeah, 2.75. So, final score. We add them all up and we get a 14.25. Not quite good. It's a shame, really. It was a good enough time, I suppose, but not really something I'm going to recommend unless it's as a time killer. Just something to watch because there's nothing else to watch. Background noise if you're studying and you've run out of Star Trek. I'm not unhappy I watched it, but it's a case of done, dusted, what's next. Well, there we go. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment below if you've seen this movie and what did you think of it. Hopefully I didn't tread all over anyone's nostalgia. But as usual, let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, ring that little bell, and share it with your friends. I'm kind of keen to see if I can get to 100 subscribers. Anyway, I hope you all have a great week, and you manage to find some time to go watch a movie.